Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge. Got a car out there on the track getting tossed up a little bit sideways as we get set for 45 minutes of Circuit Zandvoort. If my overlays want to cooperate with me, which I'm not sure they do. So you're just getting some lovely spin out of Joshua Harless. I'll try to triage what the hell is happening. Oh, I just didn't hit any of the buttons. There we go. That helps if you hit the buttons. Welcome back, everybody. Had an off week last week. Now we're back at Circuit Zandvoort, a lovely twisty circuit, one of my favorites of kind of the European, more technical tracks. 31 feet of elevation change over the course of this lap. We're in the open qualifying, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this track. I'm trying to see if I can hit all these buttons, get into qualifying mode, see what we get for qualifying times. As I took a little bit longer than I expected, getting myself a fresh cup of coffee. Charles Rhodes and Tony Caicedo both on flyers. Sergei Perok behind the two of them, also just setting the fastest Sector 1. 3 main sectors around this track for them to set times on. And Charles Rhodes off into the barrier. His lap is invalidated. Tony Caicedo, however, looking to close out the lap with a solid time. I believe that is Nick Terrell actually making qualifying for once, and is able to do so pretty well, at least is on an out lap. We'll see whether or not it holds well. We're kind of bouncing around cars right now. Let's ride along with Tony Caicedo as he wraps around the final couple corners. This nice banked final turn to round out a lap here. And then we'll see if he sets another one. It's right on board as he goes forward. Probably his second flyer, I hope. A lovely hairpin to open up the lap. Nice, wide, fast-paced hairpin, setting that second fastest time. I was going to say fastest time, but he's beaten out by 5/10 of a second by Sergei Perok. You got to go high initially. You kind of come down a little bit and then ride the curbing on the exit to get the fastest line through here. A lot of wide, fast sectors in this. A lot of wide, fast kind of corners, I would say, more than sectors, as they are all flying through. Tony Caicedo again on a heater. The fastest lap of the session. Adam Dahl sliding in with that 128.7. About a second of time between him and Tony Caicedo, who has set a time. Joshua Harless getting a time on the board as well with a 131.44. And second sector here. It's a little bit fast, technical. Tony Caicedo setting a purple second sector. Sergei Perok also still increasing his time. Lovely chicane here. That inside line and those tires dipping into the grass there for Tony, I think might invalidate it, unfortunately. Go Tony. Charles Rhodes is gonna do great. I believe in both of them. Charles Rhodes has believed that he can be on the podium this season on this race. I think he's got a good shot tonight. Both Kevin Hayes and Robert Llewellyn, two big contenders for the overall championship standings out this week. Tony Caicedo setting a faster lap with a 126.39. 0.3 faster than Sergei Perok, who had a faster first and third sector than Tony, but a slower second sector, and sets lap time 0.3 down. Adam Dahl closing the gap a little bit with that 128.27 to these two front runners. And as we're cycling through here, see who else has set a time. Parker Merrill, 129.66. Chris Piero, I think, trying to keep out of Tony Caicedo's way. Has yet to set a time outside of the 132.53 that he started with. And we got a bunch of cars floating through here. Joshua Harless setting a faster time with a 129.93. Tim Schaefer on a flyer as well as he's coming down the front start-finish stretch. Sets himself a nice little time of a 130.1. Charles Rhodes coming out of pit lane. He's not yet set a lap time and had a couple of rough runs of it so far. See if we can pull up the rather fun dynamic cam and see if it has how this lap shapes up for him. One of two cars have not set a time yet, the other being Nick Terrell, who I believe is also on track trying to get one in the bag. But I think he is also trying to learn the car as he's going. Sergey Broke down 2 sectors up in the last sector, so it'll be interesting to see where he sits in all this. Parker Merrill up 2 in both his first and second sector. Let's see if that holds true. And it does, setting him a faster lap time, 129.1. Up a good margin from his earlier laps. It's Tim Schaefer. Had a little bit of issues there with the connectivity. Nick Terrell out again, I think on a first actual flyer. Sergey Perok, another part of the track, coming around towards the end of the lap. I think. Like a Mathias, I think I can. Yes. Up purple sector 1, green sector 2. Stuck behind Chris Piero for sector 3. It might be costing the lap time. Sergey Perok tipping poor Chris Piero out of the way to get that lap time in. I don't think he expected the pace differential between them. That's going to be an interesting one. I think with how that resolved, I don't think he'll set a faster lap time because of the way that works out. Unfortunate end for that run, but hopefully he'll be able to pull it off again. Tony Caicedo going purple, in the third sector, but no faster time in the first 2. Parker Merrill, Nick Terrell wrapping up some laps here themselves. Both looking to improve on their previous times. Charles Rotes and Nick Terrell, the only 2 left on the grid that have not set a time on that yet. I think that is a fantastic run from a few of these folks, though. Nick Terrell, 132.430. Definitely, I don't think his fastest time we'll see tonight. But knowing Nick, it's usually an arrive and drive, so it's probably using that qualifying time just to figure out what the heck is going on. But that is A-OK. Fantastic run from him for his first lap. And Charles Rotes, last one to set a time on the board, but he has 2 green sectors. I'm guessing we'll see a third one this time by. We do. Where does that put him on the board? That puts him in 5th with a 128.4846. And I believe that'll be not his fastest time by a good margin. We'll see a bit of a quicker time out of him before the end of it. Take a quick look at the championship standings. If they're correctly positioned. You know what, we're doing it live, and these are not correctly set up, but I can update them, and then I can share them with you. So I'm going to do that real quick. Parker Merrill, Nick Terrell also back up again. Faster lap times for the 2 of them. Time to beat for Parker Merrill, same as always, from Tony Caicedo with a 126.391, 129.4. Down on that third sector, but faster overall. Sorry, with 128.4. Gets him up to 4th. The gap is closing between those 2 front runners and the rest of the field. I'm excited to see that margin continue to kind of decrease as these individuals find time. Now, looking at the points here, if I do these numbers correctly, these numbers are accommodating a drop week amongst all of them. Travel for a little bit, see what it wants to focus on of our drivers here. Sorry, I was looking at looking at the times, trying to figure out what the heck is happening here. Got a couple of drivers not on my drivers' championship standings. Should figure out where they went. Let's try the reds. Nope. Okay. Why does this not do this? Let me manage. Don't want to manage. I don't want to break nothing. I want to just download. Yep. Okay. Well, it's not letting me. So, to manually add them. A couple of drivers. Who am I actually missing from this? Before I get too far away from myself on our numbers here, not as important. Let's get back to what we're seeing on the grid here. Crash between a couple of cars there. Tim Schaefer, as well as I believe that is Joshua Harless. Tony Caicedo still holding the fastest time. Sergey Perot getting it down to a 10th of a second. As I give up on trying to get the driver's podium stance correctly updated. Not sure what happened with them. Oh, speak of the devil. I just had it too soon. Sergey Perot going 0.2 faster with that latest lap. 1/10 faster. And Adam Dahl in third place. That hot dog water machine going in 127.743. Charles Rhodes making up the time that he was lost in the beginning of this qualifying with a 127.8, about 10th off of podium. And if he's consistent, he might have a chance at it. I know he's been excited about getting onto the podium pretty much all season. So got a pretty decent grid overall tonight. Nick Terrell up a couple sectors. He's been slowly bringing that pace down from that 132 that he initially set. Charles Rhodes setting his session best with the most recent. Parker Merrill finding a bit of gravel there after running a little wide, taking him back to pit lane. Tony Caicedo also up a sector, but it is the end of qualifying. Let's see if I can do. Who am I missing from? Just because I'm curious. I just want to know. I think it'd be cool to share with y'all the times. I just think it would be neat. Let's see. You're only missing one. Ooh, that machine is wrecked at the end of qualifying here. As we come to a close, we'll get to your gridding order here in just a second. So I grab the last of the points individuals. What's happening here? That's just not doing the thing I thought it was. Okay. Never mind. I give up. It's taking too long. I'm getting sidetracked with trying to figure it out. Getting off topic. I feel like I'm finally settling into the OMEC way of life of just kind of sidebarring for 20 years. As it comes to an end here on qualifying, we get set to go racing here in a moment. Let's take a quick look at our qualifying times. Sergey Perot topping the timing tower with a 126.21. Oh, it's at the grid. Never mind. Grid button. Tony Caicedo in second with that 126.3. Second behind Adam Dahl, Hot Dog Water Energy in third alongside Charles Rotes in fourth. I think the closest I've seen Charles Rotes to the podiums. I think he's going to be hunting for that one today if he stays consistent. I think we've got a good shot at reaching the podium there for him. He has that consistency. Parker Merrill and Tim Schaefer in fifth and sixth. Nick Terrell, Joshua Harless, in seventh and eighth. Chris Piero and apparently myself, which I didn't realize I was racing tonight, but apparently I'm in 10th. Chris Piero in the 9th position, our last driver on the grid. I apparently hit the wrong button. I think I recall hitting the wrong button. I just find it amusing that I'm now here on the timing tower, even though I put in no lap time or anything else. So with that, we're getting set to go racing. We'll see how well all of these drivers fare on the start of this grid. Adam Dahl, Tony Caicedo, most of our drivers hopping in. Oh, yep, that button. There we go. We'll see how all these drivers do. And I'm going to be one that holds up qualifying, I think, accidentally. Tim Schaefer, also not yet on the grid. The last of our drivers to do so. And then we'll get set to go racing at Circuit Zandvoort for 45 minutes. The start lights come on for the start of this race. Standing start as always. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights. And they are off and away. Good start from Sergey Perot, as well as Tony Caicedo floating in behind. Great launch off the line from Charles Rotes as well. Parker Merrill sliding up ahead of Adam Dahl, who's dropping down the order, down 2 positions to 5th. The rest of the individuals as they were on the start. A great start and good set of running from the leaders of the pack. Tony Caicedo keeping right behind Sergey Perot. Charles Rotes now having to figure out how to defend this spot from Parker Merrill and Adam Dahl, who are both behind him. But a pretty good margin between him and the cars behind. A second separates him. So Sergey and Tony battling out for the lead, going around the rather fast second sector of this track. A great battle in the back of these pack as well between Parker Merrill, Adam Dahl, Nick Terrell working his way through, and Tim Schaefer on the outside of that corner. As Nick Terrell makes his way up the order. Tim Schaefer having a little bit of blinking this evening. Joshua Harless and Chris Piero also driving around. Chris Piero looks like he had a bit of a slow start, and he's just taking his time as a result. Tony Caicedo is in the wall. Let's take a quick look and see what happened there. That is a car that looks very damaged. I wonder if he got pushed wide. He's going to nurse it back into pit lane, however. Charles Rotes having the gap closed to him as he tried to probably avoid Tony Caicedo. Take a quick look here as he nurses it back into pit lane. What the heck happened? He goes into the line, has a great run, and then just, gets it on the gravel and all this gravel off the rack, and then just makes contact with the wall there. Tony Caicedo losing the front wing. A couple other things. Going to have to take one of the 2 fast repairs you have in this race. Not talked about it much, but we have 2 fast repairs as well as a handful of other, maybe? There we go. Have 2 fast repairs on offer for these individuals to get them back in the race and out of the pit lane. 2 spare cars, essentially. for you to bash up and then get back out there. Tony Caicedo making his way. I think he's just out of pit lane after getting that car, swapping over into that other car. I always like to imagine it's kind of like the old Formula E or somehow some of the MotoGP tracks do it, or used to do it, I should say, where they have just the spare car ready to go and he just hops out of one and hops into the other. Tim Schaefer sliding off track there. Nick Terrell up behind Parker Merrill and Charles Rotes. Sergey Perot kind of a little bit on an island up at the front. Battle for second amongst a few other positions. Now kind of in the mix here. 5 cars listed in this battle for second in the battle box, which I think should make for some interesting driving all the way back down to Joshua Harless at the back of this train. We ride along with him. See all the cars out in front of him as they get a move on. Sergey Perot, 127.1, fastest lap of the session. Everybody else in the 130s and 129s. A good run from both Tim Schaefer as well as Charles Rotes with those low 129s. And Chris Piero getting up to there with a 130.38. Adam Dahl with 143.301. I don't know what happened to Adam Dahl there. Both seem to be having a bit of a interesting time. As we are continuing on past the first thing, battle for third now, as Charles Rotes gets clear of Parker Merrill. And this battle is now classified as a 4-way fight for third. 127.12 of Sergey Perot is definitely going to be one that is a little bit on his own for the moment. Tony Caicedo at the back of this pack trying to make up the time there. Lost in the initial kind of overshoot. Bunch of gravel on the outside. I'm super curious if that was there prior and it just took him out further, or if he dragged it out of the track there. I haven't had a blimp gate week yet. So we're doing good. Oh, it's true. I'm catching up on chat. We haven't had a blimp gate week where we talked about blimps for far too long and how they're a conspiracy theory. So yeah, I suppose I am doing pretty good. Tony, yes, Tony is. The back of the grid, pretty rough week for him so far, but plenty of time to make it up. Battle for third still raging on. Nick Terrell right behind Parker Merrill, getting real close. See if we hop on board with him from the roll bar. So he's going to dispatch Parker Merrill and maybe make his way up onto the podium with that. Both of them kind of right behind Charles Rotes, both setting faster times than Charles is. But Charles kind of at the front of this pack. The draft really helps these cars. So it'll be interesting to see how they are able to do so and get around. Tony Caicedo dethroning Sergey Perot for the fastest lap by a few hundredths, but an important few hundredths. As we come around and complete our 4th lap of racing. Let's see here, interval. Okay. Gain out. Notice the intervals between all these cars instead of the gap to the leader. Ooh, I can't tell if that was a real hit in the sim or a fake hit made by the sim extrapolating where the car is supposed to be. Battle for second rages on. Oh, almost a bit of contact there. I can't tell if that was actual contact or just theoretical contact. Tim Schaefer still having a little bit of that connectivity issues. And he is right behind, and I think off to the left of where we're riding along with Nick Terrell here. As Nick Terrell kind of backs out and gives a little bit of space to Parker Merrill from that near contact. And, Nick Terrell has spun it and slides off into the grass. I'm going to go back a little bit. I think here will work. It's a little bit ways back, but bear with me here. I want to see if we have a good angle. I think that might be the nose. I think would be the best one. Let's Let's see here. If I increase it, I just want to take a look about what happened right into this corner here. I want to see if there's contact. It looks like, yeah, just a little bit of contact there between all of these drivers. Tim Schaefer has listed as crashes in the middle of me trying to figure out what was going on there. And we'll see what happened to him real quick. The field spread out rapidly. I wonder if something happened. Oh, he loses it, or he seems to be listed as crashed. Trying to see what happens here. Doesn't look like he has a bad incident. Oh, he loses it coming out of the curbing. Spins it around. Spins it back around right into Adam Dahl. And both Nick Terrell and Joshua Harless. Sorry, not Adam Dahl. Joshua Harless. And they're now both in the pits along with Tim Schaefer, who jumped out in the pits. Nick Terrell, Joshua Harless, both in from their respective incidents this past lap. Tony Caicedo filtering up into 6th. Charles Rotes still a 2.5 gap to Parker Merrill, both sitting on the podium for the first time this week. Adam Dahl, Chris Piero battling it out for 4th. We are we are almost 8 minutes shy of the beginning of the race. Adam Dahl getting around Chris Piero trying to see if he can mount a counter offensive to take the position back as they're both duking it out. Sergei Perok managing to set the fastest time, 1:26.728. Ooh, Chris Piero locking it up, trying not to run into Adam Dahl here. I'd say it's a pretty tight battle for 4th happening between these two drivers. Good display of consistency from both of them. Chris Piero kind of taking it slow up until this point, but his pace seems to say that he is able to keep up with Adam Dahl and these drivers. Great run off the start-finish straight. The draft really helping out Chris Piero, who's got the inside line now. He has to keep it. Makes a very clean, calculated pass. Doesn't overcook it. Tony Caicedo in the background of this shot, and probably will be for a little while here. Setting a 1:26.67, going 2 seconds faster than both of these drivers were kind of riding along with and watching this battle happen between the two of them. Rest of the field, pretty much as the order stands. Sergei Perok, Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill in the top 3. These two, Adam Dahl, Chris Piero, battling back and forth for the 4th position. Tony Caicedo not far in the background in 6th. Nick Terrell and Joshua Harless are the 8 drivers we still have on track. I believe we started with 9. Tim Schaefer, I think, is still out of the car and has called it an evening. And I look away for one brief moment to take a quick sip of coffee, and the two collide. Chris Piero teleporting back to the pits. Adam Dahl trying to nurse it back, but I think he is going to park it as well and jump into the pit lane. Let's take a quick look at what happened there, because that was devastating for both of them. And good run from Adam Dahl here. I'm trying to see what happens. And if it's Chris Piero, let's see if we ride a bowling board with Chris Piero. He has the inside line and then just gets kind of turned into, and then the netcode latches both of them together and gets rid of the entire back half of Adam Dahl's car. And then Chris Piero taking the tow, because I believe his car also had damage we didn't see there. So rough break for both of them as well. Joshua Harless back up into 6th, Nick Terrell as well. Tony Caicedo filtering back up into 4th, 20 seconds behind Parker Merrill. Parker Merrill trying to close this gap to Charles Rotes. The battle for 2nd, I think, is starting to heat back up. It's Charles Rotes kind of taking a weird line. I don't know if he's trying to go offline to not give Parker Merrill the draft or what have you. Right along with Parker Merrill here in kind of the closest thing to have to a driver's eye cam, as they are going around the final couple corners for the race. Tony Caicedo setting the fastest lap last time he went by with a 1:26.665, improving on Sergei Perok's 1:26.7. Good lap times out of both of them. Faster lap times out of Parker Merrill, who has gone 0.2 faster than Charles Rotes, but both have to set these times and keep these times. Let me see what the actual last times are. Okay, I was not quite correct in my statement of when these laps were. These are best laps, not last laps. Joshua Harless listed as crashed again. Let's see how Parker Merrill fares here. That gap seems to be opening for him. A couple laps, Charles seems to be doing better in second. A couple laps, Parker Merrill seems to be doing better from where he is trying to chase down Charles for second. Take a quick look, see what happened to Joshua Harless. We're once again back in the chicane, the third sector, or just heading into it. Curious whether he loses it on entry here or in the same kind of spot that Tony did earlier on at the first lap of this race. And once again, goes too deep, catches the gravel, and that just spins him out in that Buc-ee's livery. Keeps it out of the wall, though, so it just got labeled as a crash, even though he just had a nice little spin. Two of them still battling it out. Probably the closest thing on track at the moment is these two. Sergey Perot 15 seconds ahead of them. Tony Caicedo 22 seconds behind. Those are both your pole sitter. Sorry, yeah, I had that right. Your pole sitter and your P2 driver now kind of sit in the, or not really, kind of give this bookend, I should say, this battle that we're looking at between Parker Merrill and Charles Roates. Charles Roates trying to find the time there that he's had some laps, able to go faster. Tony Caicedo setting yet another fastest lap, 126.498. Looking, I think, get back on the podium and gain some points out of this, but I think just finishing will get all of these drivers pretty decent point haul for the week. Coming up on 15 minutes, a third of the race complete. And then we will see how the drivers are faring here in a moment. Sergey Perot taking away the fastest lap time from Tony Caicedo with that 126.322. And this battle continues to deliver. Parker Merrill getting really good runs out of some of these corners and other laps. Charles Roates having a great set of laps as well, keeping within a second of each other. So it's kind of hard to really kind of move away from it to anything else, as everyone else is kind of on their own little island. So we'll stick with them for the moment. Tony Caicedo returning this battle for essentially what is almost like a time attack type race going on right now. Tony Caicedo resetting the fastest lap, 126.19. 187 if you want to get real particular with it. So rather interesting set of driving there. Nick Terrell getting a pretty good lead to Joshua Harless. And few other drivers. Let's hop into, I guess we'll hop into the party chat, see how everyone is doing at the 1/3 way through. Howdy, everyone.
Who just joined?
What's
up, Fen?
It's Fen.
What's up?
Coming to give you the driver's eye nonsense that I wanted to do. How's everyone? How's everyone faring?
Oh, yeah.
Hello?
Hello. How's everyone doing?
Why is everyone went silent for a second? I was like, what happened?
I'm focusing like a motherfucker right now trying to recover my race.
Okay, well, you were making good progress there with those 126s.
Oh my god.
Tony.
I almost hit the 125. Yes?
You're, oh my god, maybe really concerned that you had crashed because I was watching the battle between Parker and Charles. And
Me crash never.
Yeah, it definitely didn't happen earlier tonight.
No. I don't know what you're talking about. That doesn't happen to me ever.
No.
Ben, what do the viewers think about the sauce being in second place?
You'll ask them right now as a result. I'm sure we'll hear from them momentarily. I know my partner is very upset with you, Tony, for crashing lap 1.
I'm sorry.
And I'm not upset. I am not upset.
Yeah,
He passed
Togi's
me.
having a great time up there.
Yeah.
He passed me on the cold tires. I gave him the position, and then he crashed on that. I'm not upset.
Sergey, that was, by the way, like, thank you for not killing us both. That was very clean. Well done. You applied good pressure. That was tight.
Jenna Esposito says go Charles. So Charles, I think
Oh, yeah.
the chat is very excited that you're in second.
Fuck yeah.
If I see a sauce podium tonight, I'm having beers.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, my friend left me some Coors Banquets in the fridge. I'm gonna crack open
Hell
one of
yeah.
them. And I'm
Don't lock it up in the
Hell
turn 1,
fucking
Charles.
yeah.
You still got over half the race to go.
Yeah, focus on driving, not talking right now.
Take it nice and easy.
So, all right, I'm gonna.
Think of your brain.
So, Fen, have you run out of things to talk about yet?
Not quite. I'm getting there, but I mean, honestly, the battle between these two, both Charles and Parker, is like really my like, kind of like my hyperfixation at the moment. It's fun. It's
good.
It's a good thing to watch. Not quite out of things to talk about.
Good.
Yet. I might at some
yeah.
point soon, but so far I'm managing.
Ben, did you ever talk about the history of my my racing career with go-karts and everything?
I haven't gotten too far into that just this yet. I probably will be pulling out all of the media day stuff that I've taken though. Between
yeah.
last race
as
and
well.
this one, it'll be the time where I just spill all the media day secrets we got. So
Yeah, the talks of my junior go-karting days. Tony, did I ever tell you about that?
No.
So on my 8th grade trip, we took a trip to Gettysburg, and
Okay.
we stayed at this like really weird hotel, but they had this arcade and a go-kart track at the hotel.
That's cool.
So like the part of the class trip was like they had like all.
Wait, hang on. Hold that thought for 1 second. On. Is that 125? Oh my god, another fastest lap by 6 1/1000ths. I'm trying so hard to break that 125.
Parker, if I keep him
Anyway.
talking, I think you'll get him in a couple laps.
To cut to the chase, so I don't have to keep on yapping. They paid for us to do as many go-kart races as we wanted, and I won every single race that was held that day.
Professional. Sign him up right now.
Yeah.
But you were held back 4 times, so you really like had your driver's license too. So
Was it held back 4 times?
Yeah, it's supposed to be senior, actually in 8th grade.
That would be insane. Look at 18.
the thing is, he didn't tell you is he drove himself to that field trip.
Oh yeah. Showing up with a cup of Stellas in hand.
That was
All
one
right,
of
kids, I'm gonna show you how it's done.
He signed on the chaperone line.
Yeah.
Let's see what
But like what I thought was BS is the teacher was like, "All right, no bumping allowed." He gets on track and he's just running people into the walls.
He meant you guys aren't supposed to bump.
Yeah.
It's all right,
Is this
though.
my
'Cause
125?
my
Please do my
Forza
125.
racing was good enough to where I got around.
Spicy, Tony.
Fuck yeah, Tony.
You 125 and then some.
Yeah. I don't even know how I did that.
Well, can you do that for another 20 minutes?
We'll see. It's definitely not going to be enough, but it'll be close.
I hope he's not.
Say that
That's the
guy-
only person that scares me on the grid, you know, honestly.
I already have my whole podium.
Not Robert.
Good. Charles, you still have Parker Merrill 4 tenths
know, I
behind you. You gotta finish the race first before you figure out what you're gonna say.
Well, no, you
I
gotta
like
go
the
in
hubris he
prepared.
has there. I want him to keep thinking it.
We're not in the cool down room quite yet.
Yeah, no. Just because I've come to y'all to see how things are going.
You know, quite literally, this is the hot box. Oh my god, tank slapper.
Tony, you already
No,
had
I
your crash
just
for the
got
race.
some confidence.
What'd you say, Fen?
I said you already had your crash for the race. You can't have another.
Shut up.
I still should put the Tony Caicedo.
What was that?
I should put the name you put in the media day. The Tony.
Oh, yeah. That's what my old drummer used to call me.
Fair.
The word toe and the word knee spelled out.
Just the emojis.
Parker, I feel like
There was
what's
a group
saving
called
me
Tony,
here is
Tony,
this
Tony
track
back
is
in the day.
so hard to overtake at.
All spelled differently.
What?
Is part of what's saving me here is that this track is kind of hard to overtake at?
I don't think it's
Kind
that
of.
hard to overtake.
I
Hey,
just
well,
don't get close enough to you to do it. Because, I mean,
True.
we still got 20 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think Parker's just fuel saving behind you, so.
Jeez.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm trying, but
Not
I can't
not
let
like
you get too
not
far
like
ahead.
last few laps from me.
Yeah, I think we don't quite have a sponsorship with Stella Artois to have those on standby for you.
Yeah, right?
Be amazing.
You can ignore that off track, Ben.
It's a good thing you're still too far away to be seen on the broadcast because I'm watching the battle between these two.
Good. Still 125 though. Oh, 126.1. Damn it.
Well, if you hadn't messed it up.
Man.
Sorry. Apparently I'm just going to fucking roast you. What other good media day stuff haven't we talked about?
I'm a cunt hair away from a 26.
Nick, just don't brake nearly as much as you think you need to brake. I'll help you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tony just doesn't
Right,
touch that
engine
pedal
brake
on the
missing.
middle. Or on the left. As evidenced by his lap 1.
All right.
Sergey Proke into the pit lane. All right. I guess I'm going back to the booth for a little bit and pretending like this is a stream.
See you, Phineas.
Yep, see you later.
Thanks. Bye. All right. Pit stops coming in for the group of individuals. Sergey Proke in from the lead of the race for taking that early pit stop. As he comes out after doing this, Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill both into the pit lane. Hard on the brakes for Charles Rotes. See how well all of this works out for him. Tony Caicedo jumps both of them into the pits. And he'll probably need a splash or a big portion of fuel. So while he closes the distance and comes into that interval between himself and Sergey Proke, got to remember that Tony Caicedo is a bit of an alternate strategy to the rest of the field. Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill still in lockstep, I think is the word that I'd like to use there. I don't think it's quite the correct word, but I've heard Nolan from Greenfly TV use it a bunch of times, so I'm going to say it's a word I can use. And the battle continues between the two of them. Nick Terrell also not in yet. I think also on that peak fuel save strat on an alternate fuel save strat as one of the drivers that came in on lap 5. I think Tony's got to come in at least like in a lap or two because he was in on lap 1 to get his car fixed. Nick Terrell closing the distance to Parker Merrill and Charles Rotes locking it up. Cold tires. And this battle for the third spot on the podium right now, effectively the second spot on the podium, continues. Looking at the most recent times, see how everyone's doing. And Tony's still out, still driving, still turning laps. Parker Merrill having a rough outlap here, losing a lot of ground to Charles Rotes, going on the outside. Nick Terrell coming in down on the middle, but he's going into pit lane. So Parker Merrill will take that position back. We use this thing called the speed cam, which I'm excited about. I know yapping is the content, so. Nick Terrell in pit lane. I think I just said that. I'm going to say it again. Apparently once wasn't enough for me to recognize it in my brain. Parker Merrill still sitting about a second behind Charles Rotes. This gap between them keeping to be in that nice window. Look at the time delta between these two, and it's just stayed so consistently between... why is that going that way? Go the other way. There we go. Between about a second, Tony Caicedo in from where he sat in P2. And in theory, we'll bump him back down to about P4. Though my guess will be probably about 10 seconds or less there to these two drivers as they're continuing their battle for the overall second position. Kind of looking at the gap between all of these drivers. Pit strategy for the top 10. Apparently that's how many that it wants to show me. Where the heck? Here. Let's look at there's the track map of all the drivers and where they're at. There are currently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 still out on track. Kind of a little bit all over the place. Oh yeah, first row 1, row count 12. That's why I'm seeing 12 of them. You see how everybody's fuel strategy. Where that is. Lap times for the cars in front and behind. Why did it say that Tony Caicedo was in the pits? Oh, he wasn't. He just took 6 seconds of fuel to get to the end of the race. Interesting. I'm curious. Is that all he needs to get to the end of the race? Maybe. Pit time's very quick here, I have to remember. So even though he pitted on lap 1, he still has a lap time very similar. If he's a second slower in the pits, or second faster in the pits, he makes up a lot of time. Cool. Let's see. Still staying about a second behind him and about 20 seconds behind Parker Merrill. And so curious if that factor where that second pit stop is all he needs to get to the end, and how much more and why the speed difference is there. So follow along with these two. Battle between these two still continuing as we get through the second 2/3 of the way done, or second to third of the race. Last 15 minutes to go. Pit stops complete. It's a one-stopper usually, so all of the pit stops have been complete for all 6 of the drivers still on the lead lap. As they get through it. Nick Terrell kind of closing the gap to them ever so slightly. And the gap opening between Charles and Tony Caicedo, 6 seconds this time by, about 5.8 last time. And while Charles Rotes setting a personal fastest, so is Parker Merrill setting the 127.5. And both of them about a second slower per lap than Tony Caicedo. both of them losing about 5 seconds in total lap time to Tony Caicedo in the pit cycle. I'm curious if they were just not as fast getting out, or if they had more pit lane time to travel after tires. Some of the other fun things I guess I could talk about while I'm sitting here desperately racking my brain to talk about things, so that way I don't have to go diving back into the booth just yet for the cool down room. 21:25.9 out of Tony Caicedo, still trying to close the gap to Sergei Perot. 24 seconds to separate those two. About half a second a lap if we look at Tony Caicedo's lap times. Most of them have been faster. And a whole 9 seconds now to Charles Roets as he goes up through the gears. Says that we have a total of 8 of them on this dashboard here. That is not the case. Only 6 gears on these cars. Joshua Harless in the pit lane for his scheduled stop. He stopped at lap 7 after, I think, contact with, I believe, Tim Schaefer. Did I remember that correctly? No, Adam Dahl made contact with Schaefer. After the contact with someone amongst that. So his lap time's also a little bit off. He is back underway. Considered a lap down to at least everyone. Is that correct? Am I understanding that correctly? I'm trying to figure out why it's listing them as a lap ahead of him, even though they're not. Maybe because he's on a different lap than the rest of the field is. Confusing all the same. Battle for P3 on the bottom step of the podium rages on. Charles Roets trying to figure out what he wanted to do for his celebratory music, but there is still racing left to be done for them, so that victory is not assured yet. And he is still trying to find time to keep himself clear of Parker Merrill, sitting still about a second ahead of him, but that second is really one I think Parker has just been playing the waiting game and being patient on. So I think Charles is going to have to kind of put together some good set of laps here to close out the race. 10 minutes left on the clock, and a interesting set of sectors between Charles Roets and Parker Merrill. Parker Merrill setting slower times this lap. Last couple laps have been a little bit different, with Parker Merrill having some great sectors. So still up for grabs. P3 on the podium. The draft really helping Parker Merrill stay in the battle with Charles Roets, though he might not be able to get it this time. He still has a slightly faster Sector 3. 3 main sectors on this track. Sector 1 here, a nice opening hairpin, setting up a very fun technical sector, followed by, another hairpin a couple corners later. High into the corner, you want to come in high, kind of dip into the middle and go back out high as well to really get the most amount of time out of that first sector in that second hairpin. And as we're watching along with these two, Parker Merrill 0.2 slower. Charles Roets looking to find that consistent pace. I think he's starting to get his way, starting to find his way to keep that number very high. Trying to look back at the media day stuff we did at the beginning of the season. Kind of find a couple of things. What I found interesting to talk about some of the more random, mundane stuff that we did, and well, I say mundane. Most of the individuals had a training regimen. About half of our grid had a training regimen of those that answered my media day broadcast form. I also did one during the mid-season, and in the mid-season break, which we had much less, not much less, but a good handful less drivers answer that one. A lot of them said they didn't, it was a weird set of options there, and everybody kind of gave a more mixed response to whether or not they were going to continue a training regimen in the mid-season break. I believe also a couple of our individuals said some very interesting claims of other individuals in the league, which I think will come to light if they are desired to. But we are still watching Tony Caicedo try to chase down Sergey Perot. Parker Merrill keeping within a second of Charles Rotes. Every time I think Charles Rotes got the laps put together, Charles Rotes seems to get reeled in by Parker Merrill as Parker Merrill just kind of tightens up, gets the lines that he's been looking for, and keeps him within that second. I'm wondering if he's waiting until the last moment to make the overtake. A much slower final sector from him, almost half a second, and really almost doubling the gap between him and Parker Merrill and Charles Rotes. About half a second slower in total lap time between the two. For Parker Merrill from Charles Rotes, I should say. It's going to be interesting. Parker Merrill able to kind of reel it back in. Again, just almost, I would have to say he's just being patient, waiting to have the moment to overtake. Between the two of them, Parker Merrill making up that test time half a second in the first sector alone. I think there's pace there for Parker Merrill. I'm curious if Parker Merrill's playing it safe, waiting for the opportunity. Or Charles Rotes. That pressure that he's been under all race, I don't think it's getting to him, but I definitely think he is feeling it. The gap between Charles Rotes and Tony Caicedo for second doubled from where it was at the pit stop, with a total of 18 seconds now separating P2 and P3. Nick Terrell closing that distance from P5, where he sits, down to Parker Merrill in this battle for third by about 7 seconds over the course of this second half of the race. 5 minutes left on the clock as we are getting towards the close of the fifth race of the season at Zandvoort. A pretty calm one once everything got said and done at the beginning of the race. Very clean opening lap, which I was very excited about. Fantastic work from both Tony and Sergey to keep the front row from running into each other. Tony, unfortunately, making friends with the barrier on the outside of the chicane on the end of lap one, and setting kind of the tone for a race that had a good section of spins and otherwise couple of spins, couple of crashes, taking a few drivers out of contention. Despite the spare cars, they chose not to get back in them, and that makes sense. Sometimes you just want to take a break once you've been run into. I think either Charles Rotes has really good sectors and then has really not good sectors, or Parker Merrill is just got a lot of pace and is just choosing to be patient. This battle here is still raging on. Parker Merrill has a good run here, down to 0.2 of a second, really closing the gap here. 0.7 in the second sector alone to close that gap to Charles Rotes. The pressure, I think, is on for P3. As we've done here, Parker Merrill looking up the inside, choosing to back out of it and give Charles the space. Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill still battling for third as we have a couple of laps left. Parker Merrill has the toe into turn one. I don't think this is quite white flag. Parker Merrill on the inside. Charles Rotes going around the outside. Parker Merrill has to pick up the position. Charles Rotes falling out of the podium. And I believe, trying to figure out, this should be white flag, I believe, this time by. No, actually, never mind. No, it won't be. Excuse me. A couple more laps. I am misreading all of my timing tower information pretty much across the board. So, let's see here. Charles Rotes trying to look to make up that time, and Rotes having a very slow first sector. Kind of gonna flip it over to our car in front of him, keep up with these two drivers. Sector is P-1. Yeah, Charles Rotes, Parker Merrill. 0.3 faster, 0.7 in the last sector. The pace there going really well in the favor of Parker Merrill. Charles Rotes, though, having a great run out of the final sector as we get ready to go by. Not quite white flag. I'm guessing at the end of this lap for Sergey will be white flag. Charles Rotes faking a look up the inside, too far back, and is going to lose a lot of time doing that fake on the inside there as Parker Merrill really extending the gap there going into the second hairpin. And the gap there slowly kind of chunking down as Charles got a great exit out of that hairpin. Battle here far from over. Parker Merrill still setting faster times overall. Not by as much, though, because Charles Rotes still keeping Parker Merrill within a second now. But he's got to make the move back to P3 if he wants to secure that podium finish that he was looking for. Only a 10th up for Parker Merrill at the end of this sector. Sergey Perok, I believe, is going to be on white flag this time by. Trying to see if that's the case. Should be. Timing tower is failing me, so let's take a quick look at iRacing rules itself. No, not white flag. Cool. Then I am misunderstanding it. Perfect. Sergey Perok still in the lead, 15 seconds to the good of Tony Caicedo, who currently sits in second. Parker Merrill and Charles Rotes battling out for third, kind of the right battle we've been hanging out with for most of this race. And the two of them sticking it out. Nick Terrell in fifth, up 2 spots from where he started. Joshua Harless as well, up 2 positions, a minute behind Nick Terrell. Parker Merrill getting a great run here. Charles Rotes hanging out in the draft there, trying to get the time done. While we're watching this, Sergey Perok crossing the finish line in first to come across victorious. Tony Caicedo will be crossing in second. I don't really want to look away from this battle, though, for third, as I think Parker Merrill may walk away with it. A few more corners to go for the two of them. Tony Caicedo officially coming home in second. Parker Merrill getting a slow run out of the, and a spin out of Charles Rotes brings an unfortunate end to the battle for the final step of the podium. Parker Merrill will be taking that home. And Nick Terrell looks to be catching Charles Rotes at a fast pace, but is it fast enough to further kick Charles Rotes while he's down? I think the answer is going to be no. Joshua Harless also finishing a lap down. And Charles Rotes coming home fourth. Nick Terrell coming home fifth. Joshua Harless is your sixth and last finisher on the grid there. I want to take a quick look at that final crash in the chicane. It's definitely a heartbreaker. That's for sure. I think just getting on the power too early in that curbing. And there's a little bit of gravel touch there. I don't think it was going to be enough to really cause a problem, but as you can see here, just gets the curbing, gets loose on the grass on the outside of it, and just spins it around. So, with that, Let's hop into the cool down room. See how everyone is doing for a moment before we close out the stream. Gentlemen.
But yeah, so Parker, when I went for that dive bomb at the start of the last corner, was that like clean?
Yeah. That was
Fuck.
fine.
I bet.
Like,
Was that like
yeah, that
clean?
was.
It felt clean. It just that like I haven't really dive bombed before. Like I haven't had the opportunity to pass people.
Had I not had a spin an issue, I would have ended up getting you, Charles, because it cost me 8 seconds the lap I had one. Like on lap, where was it? 28.
You see, like people around me, they put in like 25s, and I'm just being consistent. You know, that's the
Wait,
key.
you got a fuel? You need a push?
Oh no, I blew up my engine on purpose. I'm trying to see if I can roll it back. At 14 miles an hour right now.
Well, I'll be behind you to see if you need a push.
Okay. 10 miles an hour.
Wait, how did you manage to blow up your motor? Did you just keep it in first?
Oh, you can, like, at any gear, you can go into neutral. So you can just throw it in, like, first gear at, like, 100 miles an hour and just blow up your engine on purpose.
Do you have a clutch pedal bound? Just pull it in, downshift it first, and then dump the clutch.
Yeah, I have clutch
Just-
pedal, and then I also have,
Because it doesn't work without
paddles.
the clutch pedal. Because, for example, you cannot downshift if you don't have clutch.
Oh wait, in the pits, I can go through you, so I can't even push you.
we got close.
Okay, so I'm assuming the best battle was between Parker and who was the second guy?
Me.
Yes.
Ah, Charles. Yeah. Nice.
Charles and Parker had a very fun, consistent battle throughout this one. It was a
Solid
heartbreaker on
40.
the.
Yeah. I only had like exciting lap 1, and I told Tony, I literally told him like, we are way ahead on pace. Just don't kill me. Okay, he didn't kill me, but he tried for that, for that pass, and I gave it to him. But then yeah, on that like hairpin, Tony was too fast, man, too
I'm
fast.
here. I got a phone call.
Good
Charles is
racing.
getting
Yeah.
called by the sponsors already.
Yeah.
So what's the best
Oh, that-
fixed GT3 at Monza? You guys know right offhand?
Best car for GT3 fixed to Monza?
The best. Yeah, what is the meta car? The meta
Ah.
GT3 for fixed?
Probably the
Monza.
Mustang, if I had to guess. Whatever has the least amount of downforce. Maybe the McLaren?
Yeah, McLaren,
I was thinking
Mustang,
McLaren, probably.
whichever one you can get the most straight line speed out of.
All right, I'm
It's
back.
over in another league I run after this.
Hmm.
So just kind of seeing who's running what. It's like the guy who's leading the championship for those running the Ferrari.
Okay, so
That's
what's
not
the
bad.
what's
You
the,
guys,
Good racing.
P1 and 2 are running Ferrari. The guys are leading the series.
so how the season looks like? So who's in the lead?
Well,
Did I get the first or
I'm
not?
gonna
let's take a look at the
check in
standings.
just a sec.
Tony got like 1 extra point for the fastest lap.
I did. Definitely needed it.
Let's see.
Season, view season.
Ooh,
Sarkey's in first
Yeah.
place. I'm in second. Robert's in third. Kevin's in fourth. Charles bumped up to eighth.
yeah.
Nick, you're in 5.
Ooh.
P5.
But Tony,
Charles-
like 3 points away from you. My God, that's so close.
It's pretty
What's
close, man.
Yeah, you guys are you and
Huh?
Especially when a win versus second is worth 5 points.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Charles and Parker are in a battle for 8th, tied.
Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tied.
Mhm.
From the
That
race.
was a really good race. Yeah.
Yeah, nice job, guys. That was good racing.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
All right. I'm probably going to head off because I haven't eaten anything all day and I got to make dinner.
Yeah.
How's the new job?
But-
treating you?
Dude, it's great. It is so good. I absolutely love it. My CEO is a super chill guy, super nice. My coworker Adam is awesome. I couldn't be happier right now. It's great.
What do you do for the living?
So I just started doing. So before I did tech sales at a company called SHI for about a year, where I sold anything.
Before Tony fully doxes himself for a stream. I'm going to go ahead and close it out for the evening. Sogi Pro takes home P1. Tony Caicedo in second. Parker Merrill, after a long fought pace race with Charles Rotes, comes home P3 on the podium. Charles Rotes in that heartbreaker of a last lap, ending up in P4. Nick Terrell, with a spin of his own, ends up in P5. I think he had the pace to go to...
Ben, thanks a lot for the broadcast.
Yeah,
Keep
of
doing
course.
great work.
Absolutely. I'm just going ahead and I'm wrapping it up. So
That's what I was trying
win?
to say. You know, like I am more excited actually seeing you like on every race than actually racing. So yeah, thanks for covering everything.
Yeah, absolutely. More than happy to. It's so much fun. I have a blast with it at least. So hopefully it comes across well.
For me, it's like every week, you know, after the race, I'm going like, you know, maybe like 10, 11 p.m. and watch the whole stream, you know, the recording. No, honestly, like your comments is really nice. Plus, like really interesting to catch up, you know, how the guys were battling and how the race did go, you know, because from my, you know, don't really see everything from my position. But anyway, thanks a lot for the broadcast. Love the racing. So see you, buddy.
Awesome. Then I'll see you next week. Congrats on the win.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Man, all right. Joshua Harless comes home a lap down, only barely, as our 6 finishers that take the checkered flag. Adam Dahl, Chris Pirro, and Tim Schaefer also had incidents earlier on and did not finish the race. Fennicini, which I don't know how I don't know what happened here and how I got myself onto the roster to begin with. I'm pretty sure I hit watch, but I guess I didn't because I'm on the roster here. Didn't start the race, so apparently I've registered for a race and not started one. Oops. Oh well. That has been us at Zandvoort this week. We've talked about the points a little bit more. We'll talk about it again at the beginning of next week since I didn't update them this week for the fancy graphics side of things. We'll look at them next week and see where everybody's shakedown because a bit of the upsets of the order. I'm excited to see where we will be at the end of next week when points get adjusted again. But it'll be interesting to see if Sergey continues his streak of winning. I think that's a second win in a row. Sorry, not a second win in a row, but it is a second win. Let's check that. My math is mathing in my brain before I continue to say stuff that isn't real. Yes, it is a second win. I don't think it's a second win in the row because I believe, if I remember correctly, the winner of last week was Kevin Hayes. That's right. No. Sorry, that was Sergey Pirog. Kevin Hayes won before that at Barcelona. I haven't slept enough today. So with that, we're going to end off this stream where we're going to... next week we are going to Circuit de Spa Francorchamps. I'm excited to see that one. I think we'll have a good showing there. I would love to see that. If you are someone who is watching this and not a part of Osborne Formula Ultimate Challenge, OFUC, and you would love to be a part of this lovely set of driving, find us. We're under the OMEC banner, Osborne Motors Endurance Challenge, and then we're a hidden little group in there, hanging out, having fun. Ooh, that's hard to see. Great battle. It was a fantastic battle, Alex. A unfortunate one when it's always rough when a self spin takes the drive, brings an end to the battle. I think it's how we had a couple end tonight earlier on. So yeah, with that, we're gonna end off the stream. We'll see y'all next Thursday. It's gonna be a bit of an interesting one from my end because I think I have to figure out how to broadcast that from Boston, Massachusetts. So I'll figure out how that one goes, and I'll see you all next week for more OFUC. Have a good night, everyone. We will see you all soon. See how many times I can say see you all soon and actually not actually end. Actually not actually. I'm gonna end the stream. I'm apparently losing it over here. Losing my marbles. Thank you all for watching. Catch y'all next week.